Alright, hey, I've been asked to show how I make my cold brew coffee. Went camping recently with a friend and brought some cold brew, and she's hooked. I don't really have a set recipe, so I make it two different ways. I make daily, usually this mason jar. I've got I've got a top handle that goes onto it. So in the morning, pull it out of the fridge, take this out, put my handle on, add whatever I want to add, and I'm off to work. So, or I make a whole pitcher at a time, and I'll use it throughout the week. But here's the two different ways I do it. It doesn't really matter what coffee I use. I usually go for a dark roast. This is just a store brand. I like dark roast. Sometimes I'll use some Black Rifle. This is their Silencer Smooth. This is still in the bean form. I'm not going to use this today, but sometimes I'll grind up some beans and use that. I've even used espresso grounds before, so. And I think for the small one this time, I'm going to use espresso. Let's see. No, we're almost out of coffee, so I'll leave this for Kevin's actual coffee.
Thank you.
And I'll use my espresso for both. We're going shopping tomorrow, so it'll still be okay. So, it's just coffee grounds. Like I said, use whatever coffee grounds you like. I like the dark roasts, espresso. Lots of flavor there. So, grab on my teaspoon. I'm just going to use this. So I'm going to use about half of this scoop, I think, for my single. Yeah. Just over half. There's a little line on this. And I'm going to pour it right into the filter. Next, take the jar, cold water. I like to do a little bit, make sure you swirl it around. Make sure all those coffee grounds get wet. If you do it too quickly, the coffee grounds will just kind of float to the top and not get fully saturated. Whew. So it is filled right to the top there. And then I just put a regular mason jar lid on, just lightly, and put it in the fridge. Tomorrow, it'll be all ready to go. So you usually want that to sit at least 8 to 12 hours. So if I'm making one in the morning, like I said, I'll take the strainer out, rinse it out, put it in a new jar, and start the next day's. That way, I just kind of do a cycle. The other way I do it, take a pitcher. I just rinsed out this nut bag. It's one I've been using for almost 2 years, so it's a little stained, but it's only been used for coffee. So it's just a nut bag. You find them on Amazon. And I don't generally measure, but I think I'm going to use about a cup and a half. Let's just kind of see. Yeah, that looks about good. So I've just put the grounds in this bag. The bag's still damp from when I cleaned it. Kind of cinch it shut. I loop the string around the handle so it doesn't fall in. Because this doesn't close tightly, you want to make sure that the opening stays above the water level. That way you don't get grounds in your coffee. Again, fill it up. I try to make sure the water's going right over the bag. So sometimes I'll even put it down the hole of the bag. Make sure all those grounds get nice and wet. Kind of poke it in. Again, making sure that this hole stays up out of the water level. And then we put it back in the fridge. And that's it. So we'll come back tomorrow. I'll be getting ready for work. We'll come back tomorrow and I'll show you how both of those worked. All right, good morning. I'm getting ready for work and let's check out the cold brew. So I've got my individual cold brew and my pitcher of cold brew here. So all I do in the morning, if I'm just using this individual cold brew system, take the lid off, pull out the strainer, and then I just set it into the new jar for now. And I go ahead and I make my coffee. There's a little bit too much liquid in this. I filled it up a little high, so I'm just gonna pour a little bit off. I've been using this Premier vanilla nutrition shake sometimes instead of milk or cream in my coffee. Because this is generally my breakfast. So, it's a matter of nutrition. It's not the best, but it's good enough. And then, what I've got in here is tapioca pearls and chia seed. So, if you get a boba tea, it's large tapioca pearls. They're following me for reactive hypoglycemia, so have told me to have cornstarch pills throughout the day to try and level off my blood sugar. Well, I don't want to take pills. So instead, cornstarch, tapioca starch. Tapioca pearls are made from tapioca starch. I sip on this most of the morning, at least. So instead of taking cornstarch pills all morning, I get some tapioca pearls. And actually my blood sugars have been kind of leveling out. So grab a spoon. And a nice, and then like I said, there's chia, which is, you know, some good protein. And it's like having a boba tea, but cold brew coffee. And then I said this is the handle that it comes with. That on. Grab my large silicone straw. And with it being a silicone straw, I just slip it down and off I go. My only complaint about this setup, it doesn't fit in a cup holder. So that's, but the rest of it, love it. So in a bit, I will take the grounds out of here, rinse it, refill it, back in the fridge for tomorrow's coffee. Now, for the pitcher, as you can see, woo, nice, dark coffee. And if I'm on the go, I got these bags. They're great. I've frozen these to go camping. That way, acts as ice, and then I have cold brew throughout 4 or 5 days. Push out the bottom, it stands up. And look at that nice, dark, cold brew. Ooh. And then put the top on. And I can leave this in the fridge, and that's a good, 4 or 5 days. So I'm not actually gonna top this one up and get it set for tomorrow because I have this here. A couple benefits to cold brew over a hot brew and then, cool it down. I'm still fairly new when it comes to coffee. I've only been drinking coffee about 3 or 4 years. Love the smell of it, the aroma. Don't like the bitter, the acidity. So, with cold brew, you don't get the bitterness. You don't get the acidity. When I find like a hot brew I like, but then it cools down because, mom life, work life, and cold coffee after it's been hot, yeah, I can't drink it. It needs to be reheated again, and even then it's like, eh. Cold brew, you don't get that cold coffee. When coffee grounds are heated, stuff happens, scientific, changing in moleculars and stuff, but the hot water, as it goes through the coffee grounds, pulls out a lot of the bitterness and activates the acidityness of it and pulls that into your coffee. Where cold brew, you're steeping it like a tea and it's cold, so you don't get that change and that draw of the bitter and the acidity So you have a much smoother coffee, which is really enjoyable cold as is, or go ahead and heat it up. And it's great too. So having this ready to go, busy morning, whether it's like this in the fridge and I just into a glass, or glass by glass, is really quick and easy. It's ready and it's good. So like I said, no real recipe. I kind of measure by feel, by eye, and it works for me. And it's as simple as that. If you can make a tea, you can make cold brew coffee. So if there's something else that you want to see, feel free to ask in the comments. And because why not?